Hi, I'm Ethan Eugster. I'm doing a project for my Sociology 101 class at SC4. I'm doing my project on music and how it influences society. The title of my presentation today is called Music and Social Change. To start, we're going to be talking about music and how it changes society. Most lyrical music usually comes from a combination of things, some of these being love, hardship, happiness, sadness, anxiety, or anger. Music contributes to people's emotions and sometimes, with resonation, their entire attitude. The music contributing to people's emotions/attitudes can either change or compound their beliefs. Music also always accompanies social change, whether it be the fight against slavery, the civil rights movement of the 60s, or fighting to end wars. Music can highlight situations that people may not even be aware of. For example, Bob Dylan's Hurricane was the first song that I really remember understanding the message of without being told by, a DJ on the radio talking about it, or my dad talking to me about it in the car after listening to a song. I never really thought about the police being flawed individuals who had their own personal motives before, really listening to the song and its lyrics and the message underlying. The first artist that I would like to highlight is a solo artist who goes by the name of Grandson. He is the most current artist that I'll be talking about today. He falls under the alternative rock / indie music genres. He often sings from the perspective of individuals put in a corner by society or about issues with society. Take his first song, Blood in the Water, or his first hit song, Blood in the Water, for example. In this song, he sings from Earth's perspective of how society has been ruined by capitalistic greed. The chorus, speaking of how there's, blood in the water, is symbolic for greed tainting society and nature itself. He says, "The price of your greed is the son and your daughter," speaking about how he believes that America's corporations are literally ruining the future for our children. He also says, "You poisoned me just for another dollar in your pocket," stating that people are destroying the earth for profit. While these are not particularly groundbreaking sentiments, they are very powerful. Another song that is Stick Up is about Tommy, a man with 2 kids and a daughter. He's your everyday average man. He decides to rob unnamed business. It just says, the register. The song emphasizes that Tommy himself is not a bad person or that the whole situation is even his fault. The song blames politicians and corporations for his economic hardship, saying lost his occupation, goes on. Politicians left him, lost his pension, Congress is defecting. Grandson highlights these sentiments to persuade people to put a spotlight on these issues. Yes. The next group that I would like to highlight is Creedence Clearwater Revival, or CCR. Specifically their song "Fortunate Son." This song is about the Vietnam War and their personal issues with it. The chorus of "It ain't me, I ain't no fortunate son" speaks about how the singer does not want to fight in a war that he doesn't support, but he's forced to, fight in. They sing about how they weren't born rich enough to pay their way out of the draft, by going to college or something, that sort of thing. They're not patriotic enough to want to fight, or they weren't born into a family of such stature to where they just get some cushy job in the military high up as an officer or something. The song became a war cry of sorts for the fight against the Vietnam War, which was wildly unpopular at the time and still what is a very unpopular war. The final artist, per se, that I'd like to highlight would be Bob Dylan. He was a wildly influential figure for civil rights and social acceptance in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s even. The song I feel illustrates this the most would be the aforementioned Hurricane. In this song, Dylan paints the picture of 3 people dead in a bar where no one saw the crime, but still a man, the titular Hurricane, was arrested for it on basically no evidence. He was then wrongfully identified and given an unfair jury, which Dylan illustrates by saying, and though this man could barely see, one of the men who was shot, found presumably dead in the bar, was apparently not dead. He said he could identify the guilty man, and the trial was a pig circus. He never stood a chance, talking about, the whole trial just full of cops and people looking out for each other instead of the best interest of the law. The song embodies the fight for true justice in a system run by people who are susceptible to prejudice, whether they know it or not. The next, genre or thing, whatever you want to call it, that I would like to highlight today is slave spirituals. So slaves used to sing songs called spirituals, which often had coded messages in them, or they were easily singable songs that they would sing, when they're farming or doing work or whatever. So Follow the Drinking Gourd, for example, has a coded message of how to escape to the north inside it, with the Drinking Gourd being the Big Dipper and the North Star being a part of the Dipper. It also says, like to only travel at night, that kind of stuff, but it's all coded so, the plantation owners and slave drivers wouldn't catch on. Go Down Moses is another song. It was about how Moses freed the Israelites from slavery, and many slaves sung that song. It helped keep morale high and hopeful among the slaves, which in turn would help them gain their freedom just by keeping them fighting and not keeping them from breaking their spirits. Go Down Moses was also sung by Louis Armstrong in its most famous rendition. This rendition of the song was used in the civil rights movements of the 60s when they were fighting for their rights. It is a very catchy song. I recommend you listen to it. So, clearly, no sentiment held in any of these songs seems very radical or, outrageous today. But, a lot of these things were back then. And all of these were, achievable in their time, but, change, especially on a large scale at, national or even just a whole worldwide, humanistic scale, it's a hard thing to bring about. It requires massive amounts of support, and especially in a nation, you need massive amounts of support to elect the officials that will look and be in your best interest. This is where the music helps. Humans have a natural liking and drive and towards music. A catchy song that people will listen to over and over again will resonate with them more than someone just yelling at them or trying to change their mind by speaking to them. Repetition leads to people remembering things more, and if people remember and resonate with a sentiment that they hear in a song, or even just a soundbite that they hear in a song, they'll find a way to rationalize that in their brain because it keeps playing over and over again, and they'll want to think about it. Musicians, like everybody else, are molded by their environment and the people around them. The people around them would also be known as their social milieu. They see the good and the bad of this environment, and this environment helps create their attitudes and personality. Their attitudes and personality, in turn, help create their tone when they're singing and what they're singing about and why they're singing about it. If a musician is even mildly popular, especially with today's interconnected world with things like Spotify and Apple Music, they are listened to all around the world. The music celebrated by these musicians has the power to change the minds of many, and these individuals who have been changed by this music have the power to change those around them. Through this, the social change spreads like a virus, though not necessarily a bad one. P.S. This is editor Ethan. All of these songs are very good songs. I would recommend all of them. Yes.